Hello and welcome. This is Mouse Gunner, and we're going to take a look at Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Now, this is a a alternative to is this a free-for-all? I thought this was a team mode. Okay. Okay, so this is an alternative to War of the Roses, pretty much. And this was a direct competitor to War of the Roses. They came out at about the same time. And I was not aware that this was a free-for-all match, because the game that I came into originally was actually a team. I'm not a big fan of the free-for-all mode. Well, we'll get a little look at the gameplay. As you can see, it's a lot different gameplay than what you see in War of the Roses. It's much more brutal. You have, limbs being severed, decapitations, what have you. And the gameplay mechanics are quite a bit different. And, I just got killed. And the game controls and the way they play is a lot different than War of the Roses. And this is a game that contributed to War of the Roses being ruined. Essentially, what happened was, these two games were around at roughly the same time. But War of the Roses was by far more successful. That guy's about to get skewered. About to get killed. Okay. As you can see, my head just exploded. It's very much more violent. But anyway, War of the Roses, both games were out at roughly the same time. But Chivalry was much more successful than War of the Roses. It was selling many more copies. There was much more bigger, much more of a player base. And as a result, War of the Roses decided that they would drastically change a lot of the gameplay mechanics to fit more in line with what Chivalry was doing, to try and win over some of the fan base. Sorry, I'm very involved with it. Oh, this is quite a duel. There we go. Okay. Very nearly dead. Anyway, so War of the Roses decided that they would change the gameplay mechanics drastically to try and match some of the success of this game. And as a result, they pissed off a lot of the hardcore gamers like me, who were interested in more of the slow-paced combat that we see in War of the Roses, at least the way it used to be. And they also added in decapitations and stupid crap like that to try and build off of, that fan base to bring in the Chivalry players. And then on top of that, they had boneheaded, pay-to-win garbage that, this game doesn't have. And that's one of the reasons why this game was so much more successful, because it didn't try and do anything. Oh, I'm getting the guys coming up behind me all over the place. Oh, I missed! Oh, I thought I had that guy. Well, I'm kind of getting the hang of this game. There's been a while since I've played, so I'm a little rusty. And they've changed a lot of the interface, the user interface, and some of the visual elements of the game since last I played it. It was only a few months ago since I last played, but that was the first time I'd played in a really long while. Just like War of the Roses, it's been quite a while since I played this game. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even tell you how many hours I put into this game because I uninstalled it and I don't have my old, how many hours you played this information. Oh, that guy was just slamming at me. case, this game doesn't make any of the mistakes. It's a much simpler game, and you know, I much prefer the slower, more hardcore, you know, simulation combat that was in War of the Roses. But this definitely doesn't make any of the mistakes that the other game makes. I knew there was a guy coming up behind me. Alright, there we go, got him. Oh, that was a bit of lag. Luckily I was able to block him. Ah, he got me. So this is, you know, and just even though this mechanic is much faster, in my opinion, it's a lot more strategic combat, because I did alright, 7 and 14. I started off real slow, and then I started recording later, and I started doing better as I was recording. Even though this mechanic, it's a lot faster, and it's a lot more brutal, and deaths happen much quicker, it's a lot more strategic gameplay than what I've seen in War of the Roses. In War of the Roses, there's almost no incentive to block whatsoever. They just flail away like, you know, like mad, and that's usually the most successful tactic. And this game, if you do that, and if you're playing somebody that actually knows what they're doing and can block, you're just going to get killed. And that's pretty much demonstrated in that. And as you saw, I had a couple pretty... okay, this we're getting actually into team mode, which I'm a little bit more pleased to play. I'm going to switch up to the Archer. It's been a while since I've played the Archer. I usually pick some kind of javelin or what have you to play as. I'm not really as much of a bow and arrow fan. But yeah, I mean, you saw some pretty intense duels there, and that was, you know, it made hopefully the game more exciting to watch, but also, you know, pretty intense for me. I had a hard time commentating over it because I was so focused on trying to kill my adversary. It was like crazy. Alright, let's see where the fight is going on. I'm not really sure what this mode is. It seems like this server is switching them up. It might be just team deathmatch. Looks like my ally is getting double teamed here. I'm not doing very well with my spear. There we go. Oh, I couldn't get my shield up in time. Ah, I was trying to get out a weapon and he killed me while I was doing that. Oh well, we got one guy speared through the neck. I apologize for the chat if it's a little vulgar. This is an online game, so you can't expect to see that. And also, this has a much more lively fan base. Even though it's a little bit of an older game, it's been around for a couple years. It's a lot easier for me to find a server. Oh crap. That guy really almost killed me with that catapult. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, man. In any case, yeah, and you know, you have things like the catapults. Now, this game's a lot more, you know, it's a fantasy world. It's a lot more sensational, and its combat and its environment. But that's part of... Ah, gosh dang it. I shouldn't have tried to throw a spear. I meant to stab with it. I have to remember the controls are different for stabbing with the spear rather than throwing it. And you have to be careful in the team mode not to kill your teammates. I can't really see too well what's going on here. There we go. We killed that guy. Okay. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it before our teammate got killed. Okay, that guy's just going to hide behind a tree. Alright, I gotta be careful not to stick my own teammates with a spear. Okay, we got a few good guys with us while the catapult attacking us again. Alright, so let's keep up with... Oh! What happened there? Okay, they hit me with the catapult. Wow, somebody's manned that catapult really well. That's the second time they've hit me with the catapult. Usually you don't see many catapult kills, but that guy's really knows what he's doing. Now... Oh, am I out? I'm out of supplies. Okay, so this must be some kind of mode where you only have so many lives or something, because it looks like I'm out of it. But in any case, this is a, I think this is a much more well-balanced and executed game. I mean, you have essentially the 4 classes. I'm sorry if you didn't get a good look at that. You have the Archer class, which is what I was playing as just now. You have the Vanguard class, which was more your, like, medium infantry, which is what I was playing as in the first iteration. You have light infantry, and those guys usually have a sword, like a one-handed sword and a shield. And then you have your heavies, which are these big guys here in armor. See that guy there? That's a heavy. That's an archer with bow and arrow. Let me see if I can find a light. You know what? I'm not being able to spectate anyone in particular. It looks like I'm just floating around. Maybe I accidentally changed what mode I'm in. That guy here, that guy might be a light. He's just not running with a shield, it looks like. And they each have their own mechanics. Yeah, here's a light as well. He has a staff and a shield and a one-handed sword on his belt. Usually you're going to have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon, and then you have a third, like, equipment slot. So you could either have a shield, or, and like for instance this guy, he might have like throwing daggers, or I think the light infantry, they can have like fire bombs and things like that. And essentially you can equip out your troops certain ways. And again, this is a fantasy setting. They're not trying to simulate, historical environment like what you have in War of the Roses. But in War of the Roses, as much as it's trying to simulate a historical thing, I think there's quite a bit of anachronism in that game, so it's not like it's doing that great of a job of being realistic. But in any case, I hope you really enjoyed this coverage. Let me try and be... I usually tend to be either the Vanguard class or the Archer class, but I can show you some of the customization. So essentially, I have 3 two-handed swords I can choose from. I can do a spear, and essentially you unlock these other, like, spear-type weapons as you play. I have, like, 200 axes / polearms, and again, you unlock them as you play with them and get kills. So I've only unlocked this one over here. I mostly play with the swords because I like them better. And then you have your your item slot. So I could have throwing axes, throwing knives, or a smoke pot. Just to show you some of the customization, for instance, the light class. You have the different primary weapons. Your secondary weapons are pretty much either dagger or like a short sword. And then you have, throwing knives, oil pot, which is your burning, your firebomb, essentially, a buckler or a shield, and so on and so on. So let's go ahead and jump in with a man-at-arms. I don't know how well I play with the man-at-arms. They tend to be quicker than the other 2 infantry classes, but they don't take as many hits. The heavies take more damage, but they're slow and kind of unwieldy. In my experience, when I play as a heavy, I usually play like freaking crap. It's probably my worst class, and I don't know why that is. It's just something that it just seems like that is usually how it goes. Okay, now this is an objective game. So in this objective, they have to push, the bad guys have to push this cart to the objective. And that's pretty much what they're trying to do. And we're trying to stop them. So as long as they're not pushing the cart, I think the cart, it either stays there or maybe even rolls downhill. I'm not really sure on that. But as long as they're not touching it, it won't move. Now there's different types of attack. As you can see there, I had one that was... Oh, I don't want to hit my own guy. I just did. There's an overhand thrust. There's a side thrust, and there's a forward thrust. Now, the way that you do this is a little bit different than War of the Roses. Essentially, it is done by the mouse wheel controls up and down attacks, so the straight attack, and the thrusting attack, and the overhand attack on mouse wheel. And then the mouse control, just clicking the left mouse button, is the side attack. Right mouse button blocks. When you have a shield, you can hold up the block longer. When you're just holding the weapon, I chopped my head off. When you're just holding a weapon, you have to time your block right with the attack. So with the shields, you don't have to time the block. With just a weapon, you do. So that's kind of the difference of the mechanic. I hope I explained that to you pretty well. And this is an example of the user interface, something that they've changed. That shield is what we're supposed to stop them from pushing. That's something that's a little bit different. I don't remember how they used to represent that, but it's definitely more slick the way that they do it now. So it looks like they're improving upon the game. I got the kill there. I was helping that guy though. He did most of the work. You have to be real careful when you're in these close, in with your teammate situations, because you don't want to hit them, because you can do team kills, and actually, that's not a good thing. So I usually do the overhead attacks when it's in a cluster like that with friendlies, or the thrusting attacks, just to, that was a bit of lag there, just to avoid team damage, because the side swipes are very likely to hit your own teammates. So I hope you've got a good idea of the gameplay, and I hope you've enjoyed the coverage of Chivalry Medieval Warfare. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.